这怎么只有720P？
Point, if we rewind the clocks, we're going very far back, like very, very far back. And
啊，他这个今天的这个 ESL 就只有720P 吗
？Was when he 2-0'd Maru at WESG, I think 2018, with like weird Hydra builds. Yeah, that's the thing. Like even Maru can fall victim to this absolutely wild mix-up player in the form of Mio Micah. So it's really cool to see. Maru can fall victim to this.
2018 isn't that long ago, right? It's like what, 2 years so fast?
Yeah.
How long has it been? About give or take.
Yeah, it can't be more than I mean. Yeah, like I'm.
Legacy of the Void came out like 4 years ago. I'm pretty sure.
下一场就是鸟哥对摸麦卡啊。
Yeah,
It's actually crazy how long
刚好
it's been around for now, though. Like,
其实我也只为了看这一场，但是既然播了，那就把2场都看完。
And there have been so many games played over the years. It's just yeah, it's such a rich history.
他今天这个ESL 只推了720P， 我不知道什么情况，我也不知道，反正我只能看720P。
Yeah, and the crazy thing to me is that I look at some of the players that I've been like, oh, this guy's been around forever. For example, one of them who we're going to be casting in the next series, the last one of the Asian region, Jim. I'm like, oh man, Jim was there at the beginning. He was one of like the guys, you know, he must be real old now. And I look at it and I'm like, he's like 28.
28.
He's like, he's not old. I'm like,
no, we are old.
We're old.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
There's some players out there. That's something that sometimes surprises me too, when players are like, you know, they're just born a few years before Wings of Liberty came out. Like we have some players in the community.
我再去找找看吧，有没有更清晰的？好吧，我更清晰我就切过去。
Yeah, Eba has been really making a name for himself over the last couple of years. Born a year before Wings of Liberty released. That's so crazy to me, because I remember those metas very distinctly.
俄罗斯的哥们儿，我看看。
Yeah, it's been a long time of StarCraft for sure at this point.
还是因为我这个代理的问题啊。比赛没开始，要么我再调一下，好吧，兄弟们。我觉得我再调一下，可能能调到1080，稍微等等。
The game is like Marissa Tomei, where it aged
so
majestically, and you're like, wow,
稍微等等，兄弟们，
you look better than you ever have, you know.
这720P， 哎，大家你妈的都眼光都高了，720P是有点看不下去，我能理解，好吧？但我看好像我这个点看所有的退权都是720P， 凭什么？啊，来了1080P， 有，是我的代理的问题。刚才。
The economy.
好了。
For me, the economy changes.
好了，清晰了。
I was never the biggest fan of them because I was like, oh, 6-worker start. It gives me so much time to like think about my life, you know. But I know I'm in the minority. But everything else about that, the fact that bases mined out quicker, the fact that the units became like less death bally, and there's so much more.
这就1080P 了呀，就这样了呀。
It really is in its best self right now, you know?
Yeah. No, it's absolutely right, and it's funny too, because like
有区别，我给你们看一下，好吧？妈720P 是怎么样的？你们好好看着。那这个是720P， 是不是感觉有点模糊啊？是不是啊？然后再给你们换回1080P。好了，换回来是不是清晰多了？
Because I don't think anybody's ever gonna call this like a ugly game or like a not necessarily good-looking game. And that's something that Blizzard has always done really well with their games, where they age gracefully, graphically as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice when games. The funny thing is, I like don't even think of the graphics of SC2, but like it does still look very good. And, like, the maps and some of the textures and shading, like it still looks so pretty. And it's nice to have. But we have filled enough time. I have blathered on for long enough, because we are now ready to get into the game. And it is going to be kicking things off here on Dynasty.
好了，我靠！
And here we go.
来了啊
！In the top right for Invictus
摸麦卡，越南虫王摸麦卡对阵 XY。
And his opponent down here in the bottom left-hand corner, probably already eyeing those golden minerals. We're looking at Miomaika. You know, sometimes I play quite a bit of Zerk myself, right? Whenever I feel like the games aren't really going my way. For years now, I've been looking at the Miomaika replays to become inspired.
他们这个亚洲区的赛制是一个瑞士轮啊，就等于是打3场，就不是打3，就输的人继续打，输的人继续打，赢的人你只要剩3场你就出现了。它是一个瑞士轮的一个赛制。上个赛就是这个赛制。
He likes getting an early set of lings to deny SCV.
鉴于这次的神族有10个，16强里面有10个神族，所以说鸟哥基本上没了。他鸟哥其实第一轮运气还比较好，这是他第一轮碰到了就碰到了一个重组莫麦卡。
As we say that, there is going to be a quick roach warren. And honestly, that makes a ton of sense on Dynasty because chances are the Terran's going to want to expand at that gold, and roaches are the only unit that can really hit.From the other side,
蟑螂一波。
I wonder he could even go just straight for the main base too, because there's a chance that XY is just going to double down on the.
这个蟑螂是不是也太早了？这个图为什么会选蟑螂一波的呀？
A feeling of what's going on, but very frequently on this map, you will also be scouting for those golden minerals.
慢狗开。蟑螂压制，他可能想的是什么东西踩啊？不对，他是踩2矿，对，踩2矿。他可能觉得你也开黄金矿嘛，那我蟑螂压制过来，然后正面打不完，我就直接去你的这个后面那个黄金矿那边去搞点事情，应该这样的。然后家里面再运营。莫麦卡这名选手非常善于发掘地图上的一些特性啊。两个根本就没想到会是这样子的情况，但是死神应该能看到蟑螂出来。好，看到，懂了，在里面地堡现在要造一个吧，或者是直接出导弹车。地堡。什么2个地堡？这是不是也有点太怂了？他妈的，别人2个蟑螂，你就2个地堡，是个什么说法嘛？但莫尔狗速很快，他有没有可能就是搞你一下之后，然后还打一波？不知道。这2个地堡是不是太过了？这是稳重吗？
And the queen, now Miomaika not going to use that trick that I think you're mostly going to use it in ZVP, but it's a trick that I believe Lambo.
Rainer posted that, right? That was actually kind of cool. You can squeeze it to the other side of the minerals.
Yeah. I think Lambo was the first one to figure it out. I'm not sure. It's hard to say because you never know who actually like pioneered it. I know Rainer posted it.
那看2个地堡没有想法的呀，他现在变火蟑螂，反正到时候各种砸你。啊，鸟哥直接出大河。
Very interesting because we've got a very quick double evo coming out of Miomaika, so he was hoping to, well, he's hoping to get a head start on upgrades.
也是个人才，我只能这么说。
Because this can very definitely go into mech.
出大河的话，莫麦卡还不好弄，因为莫麦卡肯定想不到是出大河的。他女王不多，女王没有，就女王从来没有补过。
But judging by the fact that he took that really quick third gas, this is certainly going to be battlecruiser play. It could always be like liberator range, but I guess after the nerf, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
先按下第3个女王，他没有多余的女王。莫麦卡的这个理解我根本就没看懂是到底什么理解，打得很奇葩。莫麦卡。
Normally, Miomaika is the one we're looking at to really decide what the pacing of the game is going to look like. But I think in this case, XY is ready to meet him head on. Now, that gas geyser is telling though. Just seeing that gas so quickly is a little funky. There's 15 SCVs by the way in there.
这2个火葬就等于是让鸟哥很长一段时间没有踩2矿。这2个火蟑螂其实我还是觉得比较赚的。
This was such a high value play. The amount of mining time he denied at
爆狗是什么东西啊？
Like if we look at the resources.
爆狗1攻1防小狗，别人妈的出大河的又不出门的。
In terms of economy, But he is going to need to figure out about that BC.
女王也不造，看到女妖有女妖也不造女王。我靠，这鸟哥在这个地堡是不是也真的过了？这不退吗？
Very strange, and it does look like it is going to be mech. We've got an armory coming on in. I'm not really sure how powerful mech is on Dynasty, but I wonder if this might be more of a I don't think Mio Micah is so good against playing against mech.
这什么意思啊？这什么意思啊
？Is really good on Dynasty.
So here's the battle cruiser. It's funky to go for a battle cruiser after the Banshee. We don't usually see it like that. Scanning the main base reveals that there's really not that much available right now. Obviously, the spore crawlers are here because, well, there was.
他没多余的女王，这就是问题。细节也好差，农民也不拉。出刺蛇，一个女王打这个大河，你妈打到天荒地老去了。虽然他每个矿都有防控，他这个防控就是为了防女王。但不出就是为了防女妖，不出女王，他这个代价付的还是比较大的。
Yeah, I'm curious. Obviously, that would have slowed down his transition into his regular mech play. We are going to see Lings trying to dive bomb this natural, but that is a lot of dead Lings for basically no gain. 35 Lings. That wasn't just there, was it?
已经死了35条狗了。
He swooped in earlier too with a very similar looking attack.
Okay, it must have just
ultimately what threw him off a little. Yeah, now 1-1 is coming up too.
莫麦卡打得非常的乱。
Those bunkers are still sitting around, by the way.
Yeah, this is such a strange game already. Like we've got some nice harassment coming in on the gold base, and that gold base has been denied for a very long time. This
两个不会，
finally getting forced away. It killed
10 kills though.
It killed quite a bit. It surprisingly it only killed.
这个战术已经炸了，这
like
个
it
战术。
killed more, but I guess Mio Micah just had so few queens. Despite Mio Micah outmining his opponent by a
然后现在就进入到鸟哥的一个爆兵的一个节奏。
Relatively low drone count, and as I say that, he is starting to drone up a little bit more, but. This is a very strange game. That is what I'm comfortable saying.
Yeah, and it's due to the new maps, right? Like obviously the strategy.
这种趁女妖不小心去砸一下，不就女王就没了吗？
Ultimately results of these new maps, and it's exciting that we have seen them pop up in so many of the games. So Dynasty is probably look at that Overlord, basically invisible. It's like a toddler playing hide and seek, you know, like the feet are sticking out from the bottom of the curtain. That Overlord is practically invisible, guys.
They're making eye contact with you.
Mark was really good at hide and seek, dude. He found it immediately.
Yeah. Toddler makes eye contact with you and is like, "You can't see me." Addresses you directly, and you're like,
两个这样的一个接话，他会慢慢的把4望开起来。哇靠！这个时候10分钟还不到，他已经在猥琐了，你敢信？投刺蛇狗。
Like, do you unironically go microbial shroud now too? Like, what is the play?
I mean, I do not like
that
hydras
made you
against
feel dirty,
BCs.
didn't it? Yeah. This is a very funky game at this point, but I don't see how like a lot of hydras are gonna be good against a whole lot of battle cruisers.
这波投进去呢，黄金矿肯定没了。但是你全部投的是小狗的话，你黄金矿打不掉。他干嘛？他直接一波，他疯了吧？莫麦卡。
That is a lot of tanks in the main for XY that are not really in position.
哎，两个出门了。
They were like, that is so much of his
他投主
army.
矿的，这是投主矿。
Mio Micah may be able to get a
投
lot
主
done with this
矿
drop in the back because I don't think there's really
这
any
么多狗，
defense.
其实鸟哥也不好弄啊。
turrets.
他是投完主矿之后，然后再反过来冲一波4矿。
There is some high potential of these lings doing a lot.
啊，就这样投的吗？
As I say, that flies directly into them.
两个，哇靠！这怎么冲？
你们 CS 打完了？
打完了，输了。这怎么冲？你第一轮赢了，输了。
输了呀，第一轮打 Coffee 啊。
能出现吗？能出现吗？
出现应该，我争取赢了2个，赢一个多400，赢2个再多800，有机会好吧？对，
你要赢3个。
对， 要赢3个才能出现。
This is a very intriguing game right here.
就现在打的这2个人，我有机会赢的。
这2个人我怕你碰不到啊。
碰得到的，有机会碰到的，总会碰得了。你输两，他是类似人啊，打那个
我看看
积分的人啊，丢2败就
这个什么米萨提你也有机会，雅木茶也有机会，
对啊，摩麦卡也有机会的呀，
对啊，
鸟哥可能也有点机会吧。
纳米这种的 ，SCV
纳米不一定打得过。
我再投。吉姆呢？
吉姆也不一定打得过，就这几个打得过，可以打的。
这2波投的还可以啊，鸟哥人口落后好多，他只能继续
鸟哥感觉要输了呀，他只有3矿。
我看你最后怎么出现的？
啊，我是赢的那个葫芦迷，就那个人族，还有那个勾勾就，我也不知道怎么，反正就出现，很奇怪。我操，怎么感觉2个要被冲死？大河没钱了。要是你打的话，你是不是就跟他妈的打50分钟了？就
有可能。但我明显感觉这个莫麦卡不想打50分钟，妈的硬冲在那边。鸟哥现在的 TVZ 怎么会打成这个样子？他现在
不知道，估计用不来生化部队了呀，只能用机械化了。年纪到了，很多东西都用不了了。
这个好烦啊！这刺蛇。大河虽然有4架，但是别人可以跑呀，大河那么慢。
现在地图他们全是黄金矿。
是啊。
对于虫族来
说又冲，
他不管呀，就硬冲。
我靠，这波冲的还可以啊，分双线，哎，这波可以啊。鸟哥农民不会拉了吗？这个就是为什么
不过来了。
为什么每次他打 TVP， 只要有神族去他家里面去刷叉去搞他农民，他就必然被掏鸟。我就是这个原因，就是他的农民已经是反应不过来，就很慢反应。
还好他不是神族，好吧？他要是玩神族被人族投雷，我估计他妈雷要炸2轮他才发现。
有可能。
因为雷现在好像地雷，他那个还没炸之前他会报警，说你
对啊，
这个已经比以前好。
哎，大河不能死啊，大河
没有用啊，大河就跟航母一样，他这个没有进攻力啊，只能防守。他这个黄金矿要是踩开了，不就自断一臂了吗？
你说的没错。所以现在不踩是最好的选择。现在
我也觉得他要踩了。
现在他妈鸟哥需要的是一些时间，给他稍微憋会儿兵。我靠，这样被炸的吗？
有飞蛇了，
飞蛇他用不来呀，飞蛇。哇，这个1厘米拉是什么东西啊？哼你妈！
那这样输的也多啊。好急，莫曼开那边，妈个没踩开，就等他踩开。矿很多啊，这个鸟哥要被饿死了。
没办法，鸟哥现在能够守住就不容易了。他现在就是守住，然后把人口憋起来，然后再开矿。
有机会憋起来。莫曼卡这边也没起来，打得比较凶。你看那个高龙马斯现在不踩。
莫曼卡现在这个经济这运营的有点好啊。
鸟哥已经不踩黄金矿，他已经发现，如果踩开就完了。鸟哥人口慢慢起来了。
但鸟哥这个龟壳其实也很容易，完了一架，这个死一架很伤的，要冲，明显感觉要冲。好，2个兵回来了，那可以没有问题。
这一波莫曼卡肯定要把自己冲进去。
对，还有星耀赛，我靠，莫曼卡遭中了莫曼卡。
我靠，这疯了他怎么不带飞蛇啊？他不飞蛇呢刚刚？
飞蛇死了。
他纯赤蛇去冲别人，他是不是有点太小看鸟哥了？
现在就现在如果他能够冷静下来，投鸟哥的出兵点，鸟哥就没了啊。这个位置也可以，这位置也可以。鸟哥看似这种防守是都有防，但是其实这龟壳很脆的。他把重兵放在了下面那个5矿那个地方防守，那其他地方就
我感觉鸟哥要赢了。
摩麦卡现在是没钱，但是他的这个矿很多啊，鸟哥又没办法出门，他怎么出门？
他就没想过出门
啊，对啊，没想过出门，摩麦卡马上把矿挖起来就好了。
反正两个就一个矿一个矿的产，你冲得下来就冲，冲不下来就算了。
这时候飞蛇感染虫啊，你甚至飞蛇可以，你飞蛇都可以不要，你感染虫一定要。
感染虫，
或者你就是刚才有那么多空投的房子，直接去投这个鸟哥家里面。鸟哥家里面一投，然后你鸟哥必然回防，回防的时候再去打他4、5矿。
他那个空投房子怎么还在那里不？
对啊，就没管，哎拉，可以，拉坦克呀哥。哇靠！对啊，拉坦克就好呀，坦克。这个矿就没了呀。拉呀。妈的，大河其实也没有想象中那么硬。
但是你赤蛇也很冲啊，死的这么多。
不是，现在摩麦卡就是跟鸟哥换呀，他换战术。但这个战术换的有点亏，
没有钱，他主要是没有存款。他这个一波，他不是一波接一波，他是一波以后等会再来一波。这个等一会呢，人数也等了一会。
对。
你看他人口越来越接近了，基本上是没有用。他
妈这种纯坦克防守的，我也真的是醉了。那如果这个时候摸麦凯妈的转出一波大龙，他怎么办？他又当如何应对？
大龙
18个坦克，4个大河，这种你妈个这不就是打傻子吗？
他就两种兵，我操！
对啊，这不就打傻子吗？我靠！
两个为什么要出门？哦，还行。我靠，纯坦克，他连火车匣都不带一点。摩麦卡被打的有点懵了，他这个。
他少冲几波大龙早就出来了。
That one doing a weird
by the way,
front
he's
flip.
next door neighbors now with an ultra cavern. I don't know if he realizes that, but there's an ultra cavern right over here. It's a weird spot for that ultra cavern.
他飞蛇也不用，感觉那飞蛇没什么用啊。
两个把大牛塔打了，不应该。这个牛塔应该让他造好。
你说的没错，让他造，
对，让他造牛又没用，我靠！哇！这几把雾的还可以。
还行，但是你冲不开呀，这个。
So he just ends up getting pushed back again. This is such an expensive game for Mio Micah. And XY keeps securing bases. That's what Mio Micah needs to deny most of all.
猛冲，
不是现在就摩麦卡治理已经不正常了。你看他上面那个黄金矿下面那边矿，那个4矿，你稍微搞点兵过去，4矿就掉了。对，你为什么要去冲一个？
他其实还是应该继续空投，那个边已经空虚了，对吧？
对啊，
已经被投
他还在出牛，
他不投了都。
妈的，你打我牛塔，说明牛一定是有价值的，我必须要把那个牛出来。那这边没什么东西啊，这边有什么东西吗？能有什么东西？这种
换家了呀！我操，两个已经190人口了，摩麦卡已经换不动了，纯赤蛇打机械化，妈的，孙哥你也不会用纯赤蛇打机械化？
是的呀。哇，两个这波农民被洗的还是有点凶的。
无所谓的呀，他有骡子。
换，双方换。
Yeah, this game has gone from
换亏的，
你又进不了出兵点，你有什么好换的嘛？纯赤蛇摩麦卡，
纯赤蛇真的是 太高了。
But there's no answer for the battle cruisers. That's the problem, right? Because battle cruisers, there hasn't ever been a good answer for battle cruisers. He's going for the third Hydra Den of this game, by the way. He still has a backup Hydra Den. I'm not sure why. Okay, anyways.
还下是个塔。
He loves Hydras that much, and apparently.
他为什么不转飞？不，那个腐化呀？那一口气转20张，那个腐化出来，大河不就他妈
你说的没
吗？
错，飞呀，鸟哥不是有飞的吗？对呀，飞呀。
23 drones going down in total.
There's been so many siege tank losses.
鸟哥其实经济挺差的，
都不好。 摩曼卡
Still
这
quite a few
边
on
也
the
不是那
field
么。
though, and they do like once they get their 3-3 upgrades, even if the Hydras are on 3-3.
但是鸟哥其实他只要走位失误把坦克送完，
their upgrade scale so
也不
powerful.
好打。
很难送完吧？很多坦克。
More bonus with that. Oh my god, another Hydra Den falls. And
你
there's
再
still
出
the
这个四
original.
蛇，
Like
能不能下一个 VS？ 我靠，先把那些大河解决了呀！
that is very funny. This game
两个好像整个局面到现在为止就好像就只有一两个雷神嘛，一个雷神都一两个雷神，两个雷神好像都没有，就一个雷神，然后防空好像就全场就一个防空。
两个已经赢了，他已经冲不下来这个局，攻防又高，又扎死。
Get those Hydras into like because we keep running them into siege
还要打
tanks,
这边
which
矿吗？
has sort of been working most of the time, but it's been
还没打的已经死了好几条
so
刺
messy,
蛇了。
right? Pushing into a sieged up Terran is so difficult to do, and especially with a relatively flimsy unit. I don't know if I love it, but yeah, this is a Miyamaika game to a T. In case you're unfamiliar with the name up to this point, this is an excellent example.
Yeah, this is a textbook Miyamaika game. We see this game once every like 6 months.
这种局面不要说复古化，
Yeah, I had
你在
4
中
games
期的
like
时
that
候你
yesterday.
少冲
Like,
两
this
波，
is
你爆飞龙也赢
the
了。
most normal Tuesday for him.
两个是没。
哎，鸟哥在干嘛？鸟哥这个没有哎，这什么东西啊？送一波啊！
我靠！
这是啥？ 那本来结束的局面，感觉给了他妈的摩麦卡一丝机会啊，感觉。
感觉还是没那么有机会。他这个转不了型了，还在出这个破事实，我真是吐了。他怎么跟黄哥一样这么喜欢吃事实啊？黄哥也喜欢吃事实。
XY really has at this point, that base is pretty much unprotected. I think if Miyamaika figures that out, he can just send his entire swarm over in that direction and shut it.
是，现在就算他那个
飞了，两个飞了，
也没那么厉害。
飞了，哎，不飞，没飞吗？有飞啊，这有飞啊，为什么不飞啊？
I think Microbial Shroud would have been good. I was kind of joking earlier, but I
mean, it probably would have been helpful.
完了，这大河全部被搞完，就一个大河，他还在出大河。
小哥这个怎么进攻呢？他不进攻了，他他妈就猥琐了，踩干前，把虫族。
小哥也没什么矿呀，他就下面2片矿，那个黄金矿一直没怎么踩。哎，黄金矿被穿了，完了，鸟哥，
完了，
这怎么办？
他他妈的他断击毙啊！他这个什么意思啊？突然踩开啊！
这鸟我被掏的，我人傻了。这出兵点如果被占就麻烦了。
没什么，降力额。
他是 A 就好了呀，你不回救吗？你只能回救啊。
他飞死了，我真是。
在飞车在。
他飞车在正面，
他要去搞这2个大河啊。
Oh, and teleport.
对，好不现在够一个啊，好像一个的勾好像就不能那个传送了。
God, this is one of the games of all time. Absolutely.
This truly is one of the games of all time. Yeah.
I say that a lot, but this is a good example. Finally,
哇，他妈的赤蛇狗打火车侠带坦克，我也是服气了。
还有大河，我好像
兄弟，你妈的有点创意啊！这大河没飞，这大河没飞的。
坦克不在这里，一点，但是这个
他纵深
爽啊，两个。
对，纵深架的还可以。
It's a very interesting
两个正在是拿
order of operations that XY has gone.
他们打的有点抽象啊，他们这个打的。
It's very funny. It's so weird that he refused to build Hellbats for so long, but now that he's building them, like he can actually push forward and deal with the wings a lot more effectively. Doesn't have to just kind of keep the the
现
lanes
在
from
能
getting
爆
on
出
top
飞
of
龙
his
来
army.
2个就完了。
Mio
但是
Mike,
可惜他
不
没
可能的，他龙塔都没有，他怎
like
哪来
he's
飞龙？
been
对啊，没钱
pseudo
没
dead
气，
for a
他传
while.
VS 都不下
But
了。
he keeps making plays. And like I don't know if it's just him throwing I don't know. I think if XY secures this last
坦克
base,
怎么解决呢？
there's going to be not a whole lot that Mio Micah can do. He has mined some of the resources there. Oh, nice little Widow Mine shot. Drilling Claws was researched, by the way, so those are perma-cloaked mines now, and that Widow Mine has been there forever. It's raked in so many kills over time. 28
飞
kills
色
on
永
that
远都
Widow
没
Mine.
能量。
This has got to be such a stressful game for XY, by the way. Like he's been, I think he's had the game-winning strategy. It's just that the execution
没用，这蓝火一点用都
has
没
not
有。
been quite as clean as he wished it was, losing so many tanks in the process. And ultimately,
两个人我还是领先的，他有矿罗，这矿罗很关键。
他这个坦克没办法解决啊。
That base at the bottom, so this is a split map on Dynasty. It's so funky. Like it's apparently this base over here that will likely be the game deciding one. Planetary Fortress is coming up here too.
纯刺蛇坦
Mio Micah did mine about half of those
接
resources,
化
by the way, which is
真的
啊，这里
I wonder if Mio
没
Micah
穿
should
吗
take those golden minerals that XY never took. I think he should take this base.
没关
Yeah,
系
he should mine it
就
from
算
the
穿
left.
了
Yeah,
2个也可以
exactly.
重
High
新再
yield
发展。
gas base. I was just gonna
他
say
又开
that
出一
high
片新
yield
矿。
mineral or high yield mineral, high yield gas is so valuable. Now XY, I think he's recognized that, and he's setting up position to try and deny this. We do have to mention, of course, Mio Micah has spread approximately 3 creep tumors in this game, so there's not a whole lot of influence for him on the map. Oh.
上矿了，
Problem though
我
with
把
XY
没了。
going up north is that
这
this
一波
entire
送完就
base
可以
in the
GG 了。
far south is very unprotected. It's really
这
only
型要
just
塞
a
怎么打
planetary
嘛？
fortress right now. Now this is only about, you know, a
乌一
dozen
下呗。
hydralisks or so.
乌一下也
and
不
CGs
行啊。
are having a grand old
Blinding
time.
Cloud?
Blinding Cloud, yeah, would be
We
really
have
good.
it.
那飞
It's
水
there.
没有用啊。
I guess
拉一下，拉一个。
he just loses a couple
哎
hydras, never kills the
拉一个
base.
可以秒一
And
个。
now Mio Micah, as the
公赖
Amara
卡没
kills
了。
that last
没
Viper,
了。
he drops below
恭喜
100
两个。
supplies.
哎呀
XY
1比
can
0
deny this mining on the top side. I think the Terran has finally done it here. I think
两个现在还是
he's
有点实力
finally
的哈。
squeezed enough blood from
5700
the
分差不多。
stone.
的确有实力。你呢？
Actually, no, he's
5600
squeezed enough stone from his blood. It's like there's
5600
so
分
much.
你呢，森哥？
我现在4007、4800，
A pretty crazy setup.
我很菜
但努力可以打到5000分。
努力
我操，
不能
干嘛？
Yeah, this is game 1.
已经没了。
Yeah, these siege tanks have been absolutely lethal for such a long time now, right? And we have seen probably there's the we've seen probably about 20 siege tanks too many go down in this game because they were either unsieged or just kind of stuck in a corner. But ultimately, XY does obtain the victory. But I can imagine this is one of those games where XY's heartbeat has been at like a solid 160 for the last 20 minutes. You know, it's one of those games that Mio Micah plays all day, every day, and XY has probably not played a game quite
黄哥呢，
like
森哥？
this.
黄哥
Yeah.
5200、5300
Mio
嘛，
Micah,
你再下去，你黄哥
it
就能
didn't
干你了。
matter what the problem in that game was.
应该
The solution
掉不
was
下去吧？
always to
5500
attack.
差不多了，
The-
不能再下，不能再
like,
掉了，掉不下去了。
He's like, oh, BCs are harassing my mineral line. Well, it's time to attack. He's like, ah,
我当时在
You know,
5500分的时候
I
也
have
是那
two
么觉得的。
roaches. Well, it's time to attack.
不一样，
just-
不一
it
样，
didn't
不
matter
一样。
what the
我
situation
用的
was. And
是
for the
神族，
first like
我只要记住我那一
14
套
minutes, I
流
don't
程，
even know when that one
把
attack
细
went in
节
on the
细
fifth
节我已
phase.
经打
Let's
过
say the
无数
first
遍了，
13,
只要
14
不忘
minutes,
记，应该是不
everything
会
was
掉下
going
去的。
very well for Mio Micah. Hunky
因为
dory.
我打的打法这不像什么操作的呀
And
，A 过去就好，
And just
主要是流程很
absolutely
关键。
shattered his army on just the most powerful defensive setup.
Yeah, there are a lot of things on both sides, I think, that could have gone so much better, right? So for the Terran in particular, maybe going into those blue flame Hellions and Hellbats a little bit quicker would have been super helpful, but also just sieging up the tanks a bit more efficiently would have been super good. I think for Mio Micah, adding just a handful of infestors in there to prevent that tactical jump on the battle cruisers could have been super good. Unironically, I think Microbial Shroud in the main battles would have been super helpful as well. There are so many
5500
moving
我
parts
在
in
5500的
this
时候就觉得，哎
particular
呀，不
matchup
可
with
能的，
just
这种
parts
他妈
that
的随便
really
打，
quite difficult to analyze because I honestly did not think that the Hydra Link
他妈现在那么菜。
quite as effective and it ultimately
哎，不过话说回来，你掉不下去也有原因，因为现在星际已经基本上固定了，不可能有太多的
没有人
那种。
在追，你知道，没有人在追赶。
对，以前的话， 以前的话就当时重庆之星嘛，那之后还有虚空之遗什么的，变化还挺大的。
This honestly was a very confusing game because I'm with you.
直接是马路赢了。
Ever seen pure Hydra lane? Because it was for a very long time pure Hydra lane. Eventually, he did add on the Vipers.
我在5500的别人都是极，不是你不能这么说的呀。什么叫别人都是极？那在那个时代，对不对？那我在打职业的时候，那妈的也不是说别人都是极啊，是有很多极，但是也有高手的呀。那个时代也有高手的呀。
每个时代都有高手，哪有没有高手呀？只是换了几个版本，现在主要是版本都不更新了，没有什么太大的变化。
是啊，
流程不变，基本上。
Yeah, very likely. I don't think we're going to be able to top that one. You know, one thing I'm a little bit concerned about, Cephas, is that there are a couple Zerg players watching this and they're like, oh, so that's what you do against Mass Siege Tank. You go Hydraling, you just send in the Hydras through the choke points, up a ramp. If there's battle cruisers, just make more Hydras. I feel like it's one of those games that you don't necessarily want to, feel too inspired by some of those decisions. Even though they ended up working out quite well, it's very difficult to look at that game and the individual engagements, I guess, in isolation, right? Because there's so many different things that could have gone.
新流程，哎呀，新流程这个东西，因为你兵种变化才会有新的流程出来。你兵种没有变化，你就没有新的流程。哪有那么多选手去妈的每天去想什么新的套路、新的体系这种没有的。
没有新的流程，他只会把一个细节改。
所有人现在想
多一个农民少一个农民这种细节。
对，现在所有人想的就是现在就是。妈的去各种抄作业。
And it was really effective at like disrupting not just XY's build order, but also his mining. Like
搞个新流程要花很久的时间。
For minutes.
而且你要改善那个。你要是打不过，你还要换，一直换要花很久。你要别人抄流程多简单呀！你比赛打完看一下瑞普就好了。
It's a game. We will probably never see a game like that at the competitive level, maybe ever again. Like that might have been a once in a lifetime type.
因为我不是职业选手，我不想抄呀，我只想用我自己那套打呀。我为什么要抄呢？
That also isn't a possibility. Like you can't deny the Terran's natural base because he did take the gold as his natural. You can't deny that on any other map, I don't think.
No.
I don't think there's a single map where you'd be able to do so and you could do so safely.
That's why I'm surprised XY didn't veto it though, because like you're going up against one of the craziest Zergs out there. I believe we're going to have some Bly games later too, so maybe he will disagree with me on that one. But you're going up against one of the craziest Zergs. I think you should be playing the Oceanborn.
现在 C 没打比赛了，基本上。
他不打，他已经好像4月14号吧，还有3天，他就去服役去了。服役了之后，估计有一段时间，对吧？他们
估计有段时间，那到时候重置就只能看雷诺的了。
雷诺肯定打不出来啊！他们搞得那么卡的一个他妈的一个背景，切换的东西。
Anyways, there's so many things that could have gone differently there that I think if Mio Micah decides to play a similar strategy on a map like this, he's gonna get torn apart by siege tanks. But
oh yeah. I mean,
这个赛季地图真的不好。
No,
这个赛季他妈的感觉。 全是环境化。
妈的，现在问题是
高龙瓦斯器，
现在神族很多啊，
是很多啊。
国内很多。
对啊，妈那么多神族哈，怎么办？
拼硬实力。
他这个比赛就这个比赛是进到16强就有奖金吗？
对啊。400美金啊，
那不是赢了？我靠，
赢了400美金，再赢一场800美金，再赢一场1200美金， 再赢一场就是8强了，
就赢一场不赢400，赢一场800，赢2。
他赢一场800，再赢一场是500，然后再赢一场是600，我靠！
我懂你的意思，就是一场不赢400，赢一场变800。然后，如果说赢第2场就是总共1300，
对，
然后再赢一场就进8强了，就是1800，
对，
对不对？然后你在1800的时候你再赢一场，你就2300了，5、6名嘛。
说的没错，
对吧？那如果说小组赛2胜，那就出现了，那就是2800。
要3胜，要3胜。
啊，3胜是吧？小组赛，我说的是你们打完那个
瑞士轮
啊，瑞士，我知道不是，我说你们瑞士轮打完也不是小组赛，是瑞士轮打完之后是双败，
对，就8强了。
那8强，
这个他这一届奖金攒多了呀，第1名7500美金了。
多是多了这么一点，但是
没有1500美金，
没有美洲区多，美洲区9000。
Out of all units, you love transitioning to, you know, it just feels like such a.
美洲区9000，然后欧洲区冠军15000。
Sometimes we think that StarCraft 2 is almost like a soul game, but I think.
但欧洲区跟的确人比较多一点。
A lot of juice that can still be squeezed out of a lot of strategies and a lot of build orders.
欧洲区是比较厉害。
And here he is spawning up in the top left. It is the Zerg juicer, Mio.
欧洲区这个你们也没话说，人家欧洲区是牛逼。
对，别人是冠军的这个生产力啊，那肯定。1500刀肯定是李佩南的呀，这不用想。
告诉你未必好吗？李佩南如果出不了线，他就去打海选去了。
我觉得国内应该没什么人能挡得了，最多赢个1-2盘。你想在一个 BO5 或者 BO7的这个里面想赢他，太难了。
没有鸡哥解释好，鸡哥和夜蝶都有机会。
机会不是很大，
机会不大。
机会肯定是有，但是不是很大。我肯定是没有任何的机会。我现在是想能赢一个就赢一个。
啊，对对对。
That is probably a number that we also won't see matched in the regionals. I think that will end up being the craziest game of the regionals in maybe until playoffs, because playoffs can, you know, things get a little different there, but
鸟哥
either way,
我觉得8强也没有太多机会。我看了一下名单，能够进8强的选手基本上鸡哥、夜蝶、Coffee、李培南，鸟哥有机会，你要解释对，鸟哥有机会，解释 nice
不是鸟哥有机会，什么？是我们都有机会，因为有一个名额可以是我们，就是我莫麦卡、鸟哥、SCV、纳拉米这些。争一个出来，
那个纳米还有点实力的，你不要小看他。
6千飞啊！
对啊，比你高，比鸟哥高300，比你高400。
是的，比我们都高。那个 SCV 也是接近6000飞。就是说7个名额其实差不多是固定的，还有一个名额是我们可以争出来的。
对，没错。那我觉得，那么你们
上一届8强是莫麦卡赢了勾勾就
你们那么多人应该是争2个名额，因为我看了一下，一定能够晋级的。现在我觉得可能就有6个人一定能晋级的。碳基、Coffee、李培南、夜蝶、解释，还有这个 Nice， 我觉得他们6个人应该都能晋级。
对，
其他人里争2个。还行，这个感觉还可以。
这个柠檬其实还打得还挺厉害。
雷蒙还可以，雷蒙打的
也是6000多分
啊。那他你妈也6000多分的话，那岂不是又占了个名额？
他才把那赢了，在上一
对啊，
也不一定好吧？内战都有机会，都没有绝对的。
For me,
还有
nothing else
Haas
really makes sense.
竞争的人有点多啊。
你说的没有错，而且他第一轮把娜娜米干了，哈斯。
哈斯也是不打的，我上次问他，他说不打了。
No one else does this.
Yeah.
就是有比赛就回来打一下。
And again, you know, I'm old man loco here, but I remember we used to see this.
他也在玩别的 MOBA 游戏，
绝对的只有李培不，绝对的李培南 Coffee 碳基那个夜蝶这4个人是绝对能进的。8强，我就说8强他们绝对能进，没有任何悬念。这4个人明显要比其他人要强。
其实就李培南是绝对强。夜蝶碳基也是。主要是经验很足，你知道那些打不过，其实分数他们是差不多的，就是经验很足，打不过就比赛上面就你可能天梯能赢，但是你
GS 打完了 GS 马路夺冠了。
I don't know. It should be a bailing nest in my mind, so you can go into that Ling Bane style pretty easily. But
我操，鸟哥走生化部队了。
对啊。
There it is. Okay. I think we're still gonna see a Hydra Den here in just a moment. But all of those decisions are just a little crazy.
看看鸟哥的三枪兵，他鸟哥的三枪兵就是他妈光头往前面一顶枪兵。康取枪兵，然后砸一阵往后跑。
Which is, you know, you drone to the last second that you can, and then you start making army units. Now there are some Zergs that shuck that traditionally, anyways. I would say Dark.
他走生化部队也是会猥琐的。是这样的，他的这个生化部队是7分钟一拳先推出来，还可以哦。5个农民，
这切的可以啊，5个。
But he does like going for these very aggressive plays and trying to establish map control and set his own tempo. But when you have something like this happen, where you lose 8 lings, 9 lings,
怎么家里面怎么火车呢？
However, on the other side of the
这里面他在操作女妖，家里面没了。
枪兵被搞了。
这感觉不赚呀！我靠，这样的话，
不是不赚，是亏了，好吗？死了11个农民。
我妈在夸他什么女妖操作好，我靠。
算了，就打机械化好了。
他会猥琐，不要慌。
This is not likely going to be Zerg now transitioning towards, okay, more workers. We're going to try and get up to 80 drones, right? Like, he already has a plan, whereas XY is going to, you know, he's going to have to do the thing that every Zerg player or every...
那这样一波打下来，他7分钟就不会推了，他已经开始提前进入一攻一防，这盾好了，应该还是会推一波，但是这波肯定推不下来，没道理推得下来的。
没钱造不了兵。
莫麦卡升读报速度没有啊？我感觉他这个运营有点快，他升读报速度了吗？
他升了吗？我不知道，没注意啊。他有读报速度吧？应该。
他里面已经6矿了，是什么东西啊？他就没有把象瑶当人是吧？
你是哪个事实又走到脸上了呀？40爱好者
女主线，
两个，我靠，中计了。
XY was not expecting those Hydras there for sure. But you are right.
不，这个扩张，鸟哥不好打。鸟哥如果现在在家里面开始，他果然已经开始猥琐了。这你妈看这种坦克架子，我真的是
我们还很了解鸟哥，好吧？知道你是一个猥琐逼，他他妈一开始就把6矿开了。他哪有重出这么大人数的嘛？对不对？
没有，不是鸟哥这盘除了女妖就没有其他东西出过门啊，还有死神。
3场兵马上出门了，好吗？
That group of Hydras. I don't think we're gonna see Mika switch into anything else, so I will just be prepared to make a load of siege tanks if I need to.
他就是小打，能烧了就烧，他肯定烧了不动，我看见小狗就要跑。
A very common unit composition.
Yeah, and you know, we were kind of poking fun a little bit at Mika's creep spread. Look at his creep this game. Even though he's only got maybe 6 or 7 active tumors. He's got some great creep spread right here. Does snipe down a medevac. XY got some lings before this. Actually, quite a few lings before this, so it still ends up being not too bad for XY. But Neo Micah, he's got a lot of control of this map. The problem is, it is still Oceanborn. And it is still going to be difficult to prevent the Terran from taking a 4th base, from taking a 5th base, from really
不出门了呀，爆坦克，家里面3 VF 待会儿出坦克。
bio play
他只有开矿的时候才会出门。
只有鸟都这样，妈的猥琐。
不，没有，是这样，就是没有人族是那么打，没有人族是那么打星际的，就你一点压力都不给虫族，然后放任虫族铺军坦运营，在家里面防守，那你这个就说明你能打赢，就是说明这个虫族有多傻逼。
你说的没错，
是不是？
他其实那个魔法卡运营也不行，他2个基本没给压力，他才90，要是雷了估计已经100多个农民了。
是啊，
冲了10分钟，现在已经。
Right, this is him playing like what is considered to be a normal game, even though it's still a little different than we would see, for example, a Serral or a Raynar play it, but it is still, yeah, it's still with all of the same pieces. They're just taken at a slightly different order.
Yeah. It's still going to be an aggressively kind of angle instead of the lurkers. He goes for, well, he goes for the 3-3 instead of adding +1 missile and +3 carapace. Like he does little things that Neo Micah.
我觉得黄哥一个人就能够战胜鸟哥。
真的吗？
对的。
我不信，
不是，很简单，7分钟一拳守住，然后在9分钟一拳守住，然后黄哥直接跳3本出大龙，跳过中间一切的流程，直接出大龙。鸟哥这个时候还在架坦克，这个时候早就大龙起脸了。
我不信你要不让他们打一场？
这得看黄哥打不打。
我觉得黄哥应该不敢。黄哥打 PVT 不是GVT 他不只有10%的胜率吗
？20%几？
哦，20%。
他这个他妈的，
我操，开始了这个摩拜卡，这能冲的？
这，我靠，他还冲吗？
肯定不可能冲啊！这不就妈的2个就是等他来送啊。
Neo Micah just achieved with that attack, so he killed 1 siege tank.
还要出7头牛再冲，这冲不进去啊！
我靠，这基地
已经掉入2个的圈套了，已经。
Exactly. Yeah. I will say the ghost count is not super high.
这个魔法还不
Is
是
he
对
going for
的。
any vipers right now? The answer is
妈的
unfortunately no.
你别看他开了6矿，他只有76个
So
龙。
many siege tanks. You need vipers against this, right? Like imagine
就他没有
diamond
农民了
clouds in this position.
他把矿开了，他没有农民。
Without
I guess
those,
Ultras can lead the charge quite well. It's just that this kind of reminds me a bit of that old school, like it's a bit more of an old schooly style, right? Something we used to see a couple of years ago. Terrans are so good these days at adding on those additional command centers and just building up the economy, even without really needing that many SCVs. So XY at 91 workers, by the way, building 4 additional command centers.
牛加刺蛇又要冲。
Overwhelm a CC or 2, he can just replace
他
it
只能
very
冲啊！
easily. Look at this. We have a planetary fortress in the
他他妈牛出来，他怎么可能不冲？
and that shows he knows
这种就是
there is a counter attack on the top
就
side.
很狂野，你知道吗？冲的。
Quite a bit of value.
两个
17
换家了。
SCVs go down, but in a
那个
weird
枪
way,
兵在
it
干嘛？
almost does XY a favor because his SCV count was too high.
他刚才枪兵在扭秧歌，
Very
刚
nice
刚我看到。
damage coming in from XY on the top side. He's already killed
一
one.
头牛来了，好了，守住
A
了
little，bit of static defense
守住了。
and a few
一头牛就够
drones
了
as。well.
哇靠，不闪不避。
Ultralisk does manage to give a few more hugs than I think the Marines would like, but that was a really nice counterattack from XY. He did lose his 5th though. I'm actually not sure whose position I like more given the game state.
Yeah.
I think this is.
I'm with you, yeah. He's pushing in once again. Neo Micah going through all of
啊，
his
你妈真的是铁血啊！这种都冲吗？
妈个鸡，这么小个口子也冲吗？
We don't have a lot of ghosts.
什么都有。
Instead, we have a lot of siege tanks and no liberators whatsoever. Most of the time,
那这种时候还不如先把自己运营起来，农民现在再暗一点。
他只剩60个农民了，越来越少。他农民越少，兵越多。不要着急，他只有钱。最后一波。
Now 6 Vipers are coming up as well. I wonder if XY should start up that transition here a little bit. He goes for 1 Liberator right now.
铜墙铁壁好吗？两个人。
That's not going to change
这绝逼铜墙铁壁啊
！Having a bunch of them flying around the map and just
他留一个小口子让你冲进来，那不就是打僵尸吗？那个。
But it's on 4 command center, right? Or maybe not 4 command center, but 4 base. So he's making a ton of planetary fortresses and whatnot. But
哇
has
靠，这他妈的就没有脑子，你知道吗？那么多鬼兵的，你冲个毛线冲
？Looked like a lot of friendly fire was going to kill some ghosts there, but only one of them going down to friendly fire. It looks like, and this drop that comes in from earlier is going to get some work done. Oh, if he could find a Viper with this drop, that would be amazing. And there he does get it. Mio Micah, well, I know whose position I like more now. Before that attack, I wasn't
他现在就是正面也冲不进去，然后家里面矿还在被搞。
Fantastic position in this game. He's gotten up to that ghost count. I agree. I would like to see the Liberator transition. But honestly, with what Mio Micah's been playing, if you hit your EMPs and deny the Vipers,
这妈的虫族不是只有地面部队啊。
I think XY is gonna need another
估计用不来吧，
2
跟
bases
黄哥
here
一样。
momentarily though, and that's gonna be really quite tricky. He needs
黄哥不是也不用吧？他也是猛冲的，一个风格。
不是黄哥，妈的绝逼会用大龙的，打这种，你信不信？
Like he's spending money like he's never gonna run out right now. He's taken out several credit cards to build an army. He's got too many of them. There's still one command center set up in the natural 2 that doesn't even have an orbital command grown on top of itself yet. Like there's...
He's got 4 command centers that don't have anything. He is finally starting to morph some of them into orbitals. And there's one going into a planetary. He's got more command centers than I have brain cells right now. Like he is just drowning in command centers. That's a reference to.
14.
I stole that one from Uthermal. Shout out to Thermi. He used that.
有的是看一个基地放他妈3个基地在旁边。
That joke, I'd be stealing it otherwise.
Fair enough, man. He's almost got as many command centers as he's got siege tanks. So he's got 17 of those.
That is actually wild. He's going for the old 18, 18, 18. The 18 siege tank, 18 ghost, 18 command center build. Oh my god, he actually does.
但我说实话，其实想通一件事情，就是也不要去打神族。你妈个鸡的，他矿总会踩干的。也不要想去打他，因为打他没有意义，你打不进去。
I think aiming for like
我估计这个魔法他有点绝望。
Aiming for like a dozen orbital commence is nice.
所以冲不进去
，right？
他也不知道干嘛，他也不会转型，他也不会出大龙。
You also do need mineral fields to actually be able to make up for all of those costs.
哎，我操，他下飞上塔了。
Yeah.
早就该下了，我靠，应该下2个，现在一个升攻防，一个你妈的变大龙。
哇，2个你妈被4个鬼兵打出去，什么意思啊
？This is just not gonna happen. Look at this sneaky little 4 ghost hit squad.
Do we have any nukes at all? No, we don't have any nukes.
And only 1 ghost academy. Once he gets up to a 6th base. Thinking about adding on nukes is a good thing. The thing is, I think he's so sure that Mio Micah is just going to attack into him. It feels like XY is just so content to just let Mio Micah break himself on.
他现在其实已经搞笑了，你知道吗？已经，你们看。
他已经迷茫了。这个时候应该让黄哥来解读。
现在的钱和气，大龙按到底。说个毛，大龙按到底，按他个20个大龙，然后搞点橄榄虫，一波平推就结束了。
他应该是甩进了。好像气不够啊，3000的气。
I like that XY is comfortable playing, you know, with this strange stuff.
他外面还有，你看外面他有4个气都没开，你知道吗？
他们不把人气开了，他8000块钱3000的气，赶紧把气开了。
He starts up another one where the previous one just ended.
I like it.
我靠，你打一个基地没用啊！你打一个基地，我靠，飞哥全被防空打了。
He's just like, well, it's in the budget. That is going to be.
好了，可以按腐化，可以按腐化了。
Look at the supply count. He just lost
他这样很亏啊，他这个，他主要是没有换到战士。
106条狗。
And a building that went down for 3 Vipers, 5 Ultras, 3 overseers and a ton of Ling
他出那么多狗干嘛？
That is kind of insane. I think
没用
stealing
啊，这
one of
出
the
出那
bases
么多狗
here
不是
of the
送死吗？
Terran is pivotal. Miomaika can get away with this if he can mine out one of the bases that is ordinarily considered to be the Terrans. But if XY grabs both of those bases, so half of the map, he's gonna be A-okay. He, yeah, if he's got
变了32个毒爆。
that he can make use of, so he
哎，这波
He's just
眼虫呢？
Look at those guys having a grand old time. They're running
哦，
away.
我的天哪！啊，又来了！但问题你这毒爆你进不了鬼兵的身啊！
傻子啦！
But it's revenge at a cost.
你怎么可能进得了鬼兵的身？
我靠，疯狂狙！我靠，纯鬼兵！
我农民送点也是好事情。
他没钱了，他这5000块钱。
Sentries may have gotten a damage buff, but they've got nothing on those ghost auto attacks.
Yeah. Ghost auto attacks are so legit. The bonus versus light is so strong.
They're having a grand old time. They're usually used for their spell casting, but they're still very.
又按了10头牛，这个人智力有问题是不是啊？
Transition on the horizon.
他妈的，那么明显，他别人那么多的鬼兵，他去按牛，我真是看不懂了。我靠，去死吧，莫麦卡！
顺哥，我要上次打比赛，我要是碰他被他干了怎么办？
真的不，这个真的是太菜了，后期这个理解。
Does he have like a bet with his friend? He's like, watch this. I can win a game of StarCraft with 50 command centers.
也注意他打的有点莽。
他是有点莽呀，他除了莽没有别的呀。哇靠！这他妈啥都没滚到，这搞笑。但我能感受到，他现在妈心里面绝逼在那边骂人，傻逼人族肯定在这么想，绝逼的。
2个玩的开心的一逼，
This is insane. He's building highways, interstates, everything's set up, but there's nobody living here. Why are we making so many?
2个又是2种兵，一个坦克，一个鬼兵。
是啊，
他没有其他的兵种，他只有坦克跟鬼兵，要么就是坦克跟大河。你能看到他第3个兵种吗？
不需要。他妈，因为他的对手也只有
还有64个枪兵在哪？
也就那眼兵。但2个就有钱有钱有气，就按鬼兵，反正把鬼兵爆满。
他慢慢的扩张，他无所谓。
就正常来说，这个鬼兵就不可能去送掉，送不了一点。
他打1-2个坦克，战神已经爆炸了。
Miomaika's army is just incomplete, and XY is just like, okay,
yeah,
I'm just gonna thrive then. I'm just gonna flourish.
Still no Liberator transition though, and that surprises me a little bit. The fact that we're still like if we're planning on turtling up, right, and we're doing this slow push, shouldn't we always have Liberators on every single one of those choke points as well to really hammer home to the Zerg that it's not going to happen?
Oh my! Look at his army right now. Oh, hold that thought. We do see the
哇
tanks.
靠！他妈的，这牛是这样冲的吗？这牛是这样冲的吗？
你别管他自己的理解，
我你妈真的是不啦！
我操，全是鬼兵，没有其他的兵。我热哥，
他不需要其他的兵。
反正他就是基地，妈的形象上往前面当兵用。
Look at the spending tab. Look at the spending tab right now for XY. It's the I never look at this tab, but it is ridiculous how high that number is. 28,000.
这2个已经输不了了呀！
不可能输了。 恭喜2个2-0，好吧，晋级到下一轮。
你说的没错。这一半的矿都是人多的，基本上输不了。
The funny thing is, yeah, that's off of 1 armory, so it's just been working overtime the whole time.
Yeah, I guess. He didn't have the money, okay? He couldn't possibly afford it. That would have cut into his command center budget. He couldn't afford the 2nd armory.
This is like Goody with siege tanks, but a player with command centers. He's like,
no, you don't. Oh, well, I'm gonna shut up about it now, but I'm losing my mind with the amount of command centers made.
All right.
那么多鬼兵，妈的战损亏了16000。这大龙太少了呀，而且你纯大龙也不行，那么多鬼兵你根本就打不过来，你一定要有感染虫去定。这点大龙
有毛用啊？
这点大龙有什么用
？Oh man, these broodlords are gonna have the worst time.
一下给你狙了，
随便狙啊！就你没有感染虫啊！我靠，消失！
Oh man, I want to get off.
地面也没了，机器了。
It's over.
So did XY ever go across the map in this game?
我告诉你，莫麦卡绝逼在骂人，你信不信？
肯定啊，7的1逼，
绝逼在骂人，莫麦卡。
Take a position that was further ahead than a command center. Not many.
今天我们还有最后一场啊，吉姆大神对夜蝶啊，感谢圣地科的2个飞机，感谢小人圣地科。
哎，春哥，你是不是叫圣地科来打毒塔？
可以，他快点打到100个小时呀，他打到100个小时我们才能带他呀。
Yeah, apparently this is the one. It's XY who ends up winning though, 2-0.
可以看一下吉姆大神，吉姆大神还可以，加过手，比我强，
是吗
？Yeah, that was genuinely something else. I've never seen a Terran do that and not make Liberators and experience so much success. Like that was just a really great situation for XY. Like he just really understood. He understood the assignment. You know what I'm saying? He knew what was expected of him, and he knew what to do. But yeah, that's gonna.
他们估计2个解说人都傻了，妈个，居然碰到那么没有脑子的人主，绝逼人傻了。
We're gonna go back to another PvP.
啊，没那么没有脑子的虫主，说错了。
他打 GVP 也是这样。
I'm Steadfast. I'm joined by Loco, and you're watching the ESL Regionals.
打 GP 也是妈爆刺蛇爆狗，就打一波，他打不下来，他就50个农民，他得爆兵，就猛爆，等你出门。
你下一场对手还没抽，你下
还没出来，等他们这打完。
你输的就你在输的那边嘛，对不对嘛？
对，我在输的
那基本上你的对手是什么？摸麦卡。哈斯还有谁啊？啊，不对，你的队友是你的摸麦卡、娜娜米、奈斯、米萨基、Selky， 对，还有 SCV， 估计还有个吉姆，你估计这样子的一个情况，
差不多。
最想碰谁？米萨基吗？
米萨基跟 Selky 啊，2个虫子好打一点。
那摸麦卡呢？
摸麦卡也可以。
就他有点阴是吧？
对，他很阴，他 GVP 那一逼，我操，他可以阴你，他 GVT 阴不动，你知道吗？他 GVT 他能防守这个 T， 妈的神族他老阴我。
你妈！
他有时候补3矿，他妈3矿农民都不补，你知道吧？你就是把主矿拉几个农民过去踩，然后开始打一波，我操，5分半钟就来了。
那你咋办呢？
我跟他打就2矿打呀，我也不开3矿了。妈的，先憋着呀，去防他一拳啊！他这个人，他后期太菜了，他运营也不会，他只会打一波。不能用常规打法跟他打，他很硬。
他很阴，不，你可以想想修他地堡这种战术的呀。
他经常15地开呀，就他先15地开，让6条狗在你门口站着，然后他就偷了以后，他妈的就第100期他也不升狗数了，直接升2本跳40，5分半钟就来了。
那为什么你侦查侦查不了是吧？
对啊，他一开始
你不有使徒吗？
他快狗，你使徒飞不出去啊！他6条狗在你门口。
那
你跟他打就两框开，
你就没办法了，就等于。
对。就打得小心一点就行了。这个人很阴。他就他就3板斧，换着用。
哎，这吉姆我们看看到底什么实力？我好久没有看吉姆的比赛了。哎，他吉姆现在也6000分，有6000分吗？他居然能出现，没想
5800左右吧。
那还是比你们高一点呀。
高一点，高不了那么多。就其他的人差不多在6000到5800吧，强一点的5800到6000分，弱一点的就像我这种呗，5500到5800。
5800，黄哥5400是有机会的。我说真的，黄哥这种打法，不过不是，主要是黄哥的打法太固定了。他妈的比赛别人都知道 ，ZVZ 就12D，ZVP 他妈就6分钟4则狗一波，然后 ZVP 没有战术，就有点烦，就有点妈有点这个胜率有点低。
对，打比赛至少一个对抗要有3个战术。就你要准备3套战术才能打，就才能去打这个比赛。你一套战术确实打不了，容易被别人针对，除非你特别的厉害。
赛的应该打黄哥还是没有问题的，
只能说有机会啊，黄哥有机会，黄哥有机会，也不是非常的绝对，可能可以打一打。
你明年应该有机会能够降到5500分以下。
看情况吧，也不一定。
他这个做的还蛮不错的，我靠。怎么着？我现在盼着赛的掉分，没有盼赛的掉分呀。哎呀，很正常的。
随着时间增长就是会掉分，只是相对的问题。你菜了，别人也菜了，你不是说别人会进步，现在就是没有人在追你，没人在追赶。不像以前就是0600分，有一大批人在练，你5800有一批人在练，对吧？就每个分段有一批人在练。
对，以前练人多，以前练人太多了。
对啊，现在没有了，现在大家都停线了，都不练了呀。而且分数，他现在5500，可能我跟你相对的实力都在退步，就差不多这种情况，都在那个。
It is going to be
分数不会有太大的变化。
Oh no, not Mio Micah. I've got Mio Micah on the brain. It is going to be.
Are you still thinking about command centers too?
好了，吉姆大师来了啊！吉姆对夜蝶。夜蝶现在应该算是国内就应该是算第2人了吧，差不多。接下去可能就是鸡哥 ，Coffee 有点打不过鸡哥。
But yeah, we're going to be starting things off with another match here. Last one of the region. It's going to be Jim versus Firefly. And that one will kick things off on Alcyone. What are your thoughts on this, Jim coming back after kind of not being around for a little while?
Yeah, I haven't really seen that many of his games recently, so I'm excited to see how well he does. Now, of course, Firefly has really been making a name for himself, so we'll have to see how good he currently is. Just to clarify, by the way, after the Asian region, we also have 8 best of 3s today.
吉姆回来没有？吉姆是吉姆是最近好像还在练习的，但是他现在并没有战队啊。啊，有一个战队，一个业余战队吧。
他业余战队。
对，一个业余战队。业余战队的话，他们好像也没打进 WTL 的 A 级嘛。我看他们打了没有啊？
Oh, very much so. Yeah, they're this is a
他们没有打进来嘛，他们输给了7亿战队。
In terms of kind of international notoriety in the form of Jim.
就那天那个什么温蒂卡那个队。
Relatively well known. Obviously, the most well known Chinese player right now is Oliveira. Like that's just the state of things. You know, he's a household name at this point.
5800分左右吧，这具体什么实力我们其实也不是很清楚，因为这个要看他比赛就打得怎么样。这个你不能通过说他天梯分有多少，有些天梯分很强，但是他发挥不出来也很正常。
对，一般比赛能发挥出天梯的80%就已经很强了。
好了，来了。叶蝶是一名这个比赛型选手啊，很有东西。
And his opponent in the top right-hand corner with the red Protoss pieces. We're looking at none other than Jim's main Nexus.
Jim,
back to basics, back to Protoss versus Protoss.
Yeah, it's exactly everything goes back to PvP.
吉姆不知道现在的一波的战术不知道怎么样，以前反正吉姆强就强在他的这个立场放，然后以前不就一波比较多嘛，然后通过立场的操作来打一波，就成功率会非常的高。
现在基本上没有一波了。
In this matchup,
以前是战术多变啊，又能打一波，又能围死。想干嘛就干嘛。现在不行，现在只能围死，只能打防守反击，一波太难打。
He has come up with some very unique and inventive solutions to MaxPax's style of play, and it actually, I think that is part of the reason that MaxPax is starting to high ground expand. Where he was always low ground expanding before. I don't think that's the only reason, but I think that is one of the contributing factors. He's like, oh, this has kind of gotten figured out a little bit, so now he drops the gateway on the high ground.
现在 PVP 都是出哨兵的，哨兵现在比其他的这个你追猎什么要好多了。
对，现在哨兵加强了，他好像是对护盾有那个跟上。
对。
他还不是说是对什么甲，他专门打神族，你知道吗？他这个护盾，妈的只对护盾有效。
对啊，所以说他就不影响那个呀，不影响PVZ PVT 的呀。
对啊。 他加上这个哨兵，就是让你这个60图没用不了，还把那个甲改了。他以前是轻甲嘛，你这个60图、40图过来可以秒这个哨兵的，现在是秒不了。
And oh, is this just going to be for a delayed scout?
I guess so,
yeah. I mean, it still could be a pylon. He still could have plans on doing like a dark shrine or proxying a third gate and getting very aggressive. I did cast Jim's qualifying match versus, I believe the player was Kingslayer, and that was a PVT.
因为他可能是判断对面这个两追猎开，然后哨兵很慢。 他侦查是第二时间侦查，不一定来得及。
Hold that thought. We're actually going to see a probe leading the charge, but it gets blasted. And there's a shield battery, so this should be fine.
他也没是闪出啊。
Oh, and in fact, Firefly
这个
one of those stalkers.
打不进去啊，有个电池。
有个电池。
直接打电池呀，有找机会直接。这吉姆的战术还是拼啊！我靠，这就是吉姆。哎，
夜蝶这边哨兵很慢。
不是，我以为是夜蝶的这个幻象凤凰，不是夜蝶幻象凤凰。
不是。
那我怎么感觉没了呀？
是的呀，他4队裂开呀，他4队裂开是哨兵慢呀。那哨兵慢就没侦查呀，除非他细节非常的好，拉农民去找，或者是这个时候拉这个追猎去找，应该是来不及了。这个 VR
什么吉木大神要赢，感觉
对吧？应该赢。
现在就算 VR 下去也来不及啊，而且
来不及，他给压力。
而且吉姆的所有的这个就吉姆所有的这个建造顺序来看的话，应该就不像是引刀啊，你根本就正常意识不到引刀。
We're about 10 seconds away from hitting GG time right here. We are so close to this actually just being game over.
There is no form of detection right now.
引刀好了呀，
没了，已经没了，
已经没了，他没 VR 的，他这个没有3器，他根本招不了 VR。还要刷兵。
什么叫夜蝶下去 ，Sad 不就招了？不是夜蝶下去 ，Sad 也不会招呀，有3轮的呀，慌什么？
慌什么？我的比赛在第3轮好吗？不是在前2轮。
是的，哎，看到了，这个可以啊。
可以。
立场有没有？哎，没堵住。
主要是有用吗？没用啊，他没 VR，他怎么样都来不及啊。
完了，现在这个时候找 VR，这肯定来不及了。可以记了，可以记了。
已经翻江倒海了，这引刀。他都不管你有没有 VR，先砍你农民再说。
他直接砍 VR 不就好了吗？或者砍水晶都可以啊。
他不用，他现在直接把你经济打。
后续还有引刀，还有引刀，
追猎在搞你，
你怎么打？你以为这追猎被引刀砍不痛吗？也很痛啊。
是的呀，我靠，没了呀，水晶没了，还不退？他是不是觉得输给吉姆很生气啊？怎么还不退啊？他
不知道。
这个时候我跟你说，换成那种顶级神族，看见引刀这个波的时候就已经退了。
可以退了，对，可以退，来不及了。
是的呀，就是他那种顶级，像比如小贺那种顶级神族，看见那种波影走进去的时候，这个时候已经继续打到公屏上了。
他不想输呀。
是的呀。
Yeah, very well done. Obviously, that was a build order win because there was no detection, and proxy GTs that are unscouted is, well, if you can't see them, you can't hit them. But that's still very nice for Jim. That's a big confidence booster. That's going to start him off real strong.
我觉得应该是夜蝶再怎么也没想到
会输给吉姆。
对，他绝对没想到会输给吉姆。
Give Oliveira a run for his money in the region. I mean, this is kind of exciting for Jim.
No, absolutely. Protoss versus Protoss is a very volatile matchup, but these days usually these sort of builds are countered, but yeah, Firefly clearly having a bit of a misread on what that game was like, and he was aiming for a very nice and early third Nexus, and then found himself against a bunch of invisible, yeah, a bunch of invisible.
吉姆如果再搞个什么战术，那夜蝶岂不是今天要遭中？
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
其实
有可能的呀。
对，他今天遭中了。
It's so
没关系。还有我们跟他垫底。
For it to happen at this level these days, but it is not. It can never be ruled out. It's exactly.
但是说不定他们就运气好，就把他们挑翻了。他主要瑞士人对于高手来说，妈的不怕输啊！
哎，对，
瑞士人可以输3场。
妈的，我希望能不能让吉姆修盘地堡嘛？
For sure.
对不对？
But we're a ways away from this becoming a.
吉姆大神又来修地堡了。
Absolutely. Now you just need to win 2 games in a row. I do still think that Firefly is the favorite going into each individual match, but now suddenly though, Jim does have, well, more cheese potential, right? He's going to be able to bring more cheese if he wants to. And yeah, it's up to Firefly to play a safer build, something that is going to be a bit more well-rounded against practically.
修一把呀，我们好久没看了。
If you're trying to be safe against everything, you usually end up losing against.
现在地图没办法修地堡。
我跟你说，吉姆以前修地堡是因为他有那个，就是他每张地图都研究过，他研究地堡。
There's quite a bit of variety here. It's going to be Firefly who will have to play defensively, so it's a good confidence booster for sure here.
Yeah, it's an amazing confidence booster.
去年我还做那个 TL 的这个地图，就是筛选的评选。 我把所有的那种修地堡的地图全部给他闭了，你知道吗？然后最后别人选完以后，妈的，他们就已经发那个推特就说，现在作者就因为我他妈的这不搞那些修地堡地图，因为选不上去。
That would be the other one I would expect that people would be like, yeah, this is fine, but a lot of people don't like playing low ground.
这点修地堡。因为我也不喜欢修地堡，
就
把它全部那个。
The one gate expand.
他会搞一个什么卡3根水晶，你就能把你那个
对啊
矿给修了。
对啊，
对啊，然后或者你3根水晶就把你那个高地的兵营给你打。
I mean, outside we played it last, so it was in there.
That's also certainly a popular map choice here if you don't want to play anything all too crazy. Either way, Oceanborn is going to be game number 2, and spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner, we have none other than Firefly in the blue.
感谢祝我与凡凡不能在一起的飞机，感谢兄弟。好了，我们来看双方第2场。
For PCEC, which I don't know what it stands for.
吉姆，他的其实吉姆的这个特点现在还是就是他比较喜欢打一波。在一波的这个操作上，他非常的好。然后其实现在哨兵增强了之后，对他来说是件好事情。
According to his Wikipedia page, I'm not 100% sure if it is completely up to date. No.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Actually, no. It says team so far away, and he apparently there's a little bit of a.
应该不会再被，但是他那个夜里被阴了一次，他应该侦查上面会做的很细了。
对，
他有可能会哨兵开了，他不可能再弄四追猎开了。
就稳着打就好了呀，不要去搞这种战术啊。
四追猎很怕引导，也怕那种极限限制。他因为他是没有侦查的，他只能往前压，就是给火力压制，对面只要造一个链子，基本上你压不了东西了，压不了东西你就看不到科技。真的也没用天天用四追猎，弊端太多了。
To try and qualify for Code A, a bunch of players that maybe don't have contracts with big name teams, they'll get together and
这个就是2追猎转2哨兵要好一点。
See if they can put together an impressive run and maybe make Code A, and then if they do really well, maybe
这盘反正上来这个侦查，其实双方都做得很细腻啊。吉姆还是
2追猎，
还是2追猎，他这个2追猎估计还是4追猎压制。
2追猎接2哨兵，他应该不会再搞那个4追猎，再4追猎吉姆再赢他一次。
Not the biggest of deals, but it does, kind of show itself.
我觉得应该吉姆不会再用这种野的引刀这种战术，赢了一次之后就不会再用第2次了，至少这个波3里面。
Absolutely.
对，
没必要。
Very nice to have right now. We could already see it being quite tanky as well in that previous game. The stalker now is going to be a necessity to try and get rid of.
应该不会再用
这个是求稳，
太求稳了，不能再用那个4追猎，太蠢了。
你
4追猎现在压过去，你也未必压得到。
水晶子好了，这里嘛，
这个夜蝶感觉操作上有些失误啊。
小亏100，开局让100块。
I don't really think it's worthwhile to let the pylon finish. Maybe he was thinking there was less units. Like maybe he was thinking Jim was cutting combat units more so than he was.
Yeah.
Or maybe
VC 很快，
it is honestly it is possible that he just actually didn't click to cancel.
吉姆是95年的选手啊，不是98年的。
I would never.
今年也29岁了，快30岁了。以前最早的时候，他15岁的时候。是15岁，我想想看，95年，16岁的时候进的这个，就15岁打职业，16岁进了那个天路战队。
They start up a unit in the gateway and then they cancel it for the ever so slightly faster nexus. So there are still a few.
闪速好快呀，这边。
I think it's most likely a mistake.
夜蝶这边又。
hopefully it's not an indication of nerves. He's been a player that, despite not having any offline experience,
这就往前面走了嘛。他3个追猎，3个哨兵。
他只是去压一压，他只是压一压。
He's very confident player. He does things that are super wild,
时间过得很，时间是过得很快的呀。
他这样压是不是不太好
啊？那么早就开3矿吗？压一下开3矿。这吉姆很梗的呀。
吉姆是升1攻的呀，3矿慢呀。
哎，立场还可以。
我操，没反应，我还放立场啊！
你马上吉姆的反应，我靠。
Yep, they were out of range of that shield battery. A little bit too adventurous, and he immediately gets punished for it. Third Nexus starts up. This time around, we do have a nice and early robo facility as well, by the way, for Firefly. Not messing around with any of those units once again.
他这个正面操作是没有问题的，但还是吃亏了。
刚说完又是2个追猎，
吃亏。哎，不过无所谓，反正他就打一波的，待会儿。一攻看他怎么打，是一攻一波还是2攻一波？我感觉应该是2攻一波，因为这个1攻1波是没有必要的。
and Jim kind of
在搞2个追猎，然后搞2个使徒
lacking a little bit in the micro department there. Now where Jim has a big advantage, his +1 is very fast, but I still like the tempo.
哎，反应了，我靠！
有反应。
He is going to get into natural. Only going to be able to get 3 probes with this. It's not so bad for 2 adepts. I mean, it's definitely better for Jim, but it does keep his economy a little bit, stilted, and it provides a scout, sees that blink timing is done, and Firefly is gonna know, like, yeah,
是呀
you've got blink, cool, okay, so do I. Let's go blink stalkers.
以前还是天才少年。
We're gonna be doing this blink stalker dance here in just a moment, with Firefly having a
1攻升完，兵营也补齐了，再升2攻啊！你都已经这个时候，反正打不了一步，不如再升1攻，对吧？2攻的timing。他就1攻吗？49个农民，吉姆执行啊，2攻升了。这个没有必要打1攻1波的，就打2攻1波。
Yeah. We are going to see Jim going straight up into all of his additional gateways before taking the 4th base because he's kind of behind from those early skirmishes, from those early sentry losses, and doesn't necessarily feel like he can do too much.
立场也没隔好呀，你隔一半过来还行。
That's a.
一点他就打得很
literally being like, oh, you're right there. I got it.
打得很贱，他也不搞你，他就过来恶心你一下，对吧？他也不是要打你，他只是过来恶心你。他这种其实还是很危险，他别人要是包追猎的往前跳，他不是傻。还在晃啊！
开4矿吗？ 得去救一救啊！那吉姆是不开气的，看到没有？他就是追猎，然后急速插2攻，然后带点不朽一波。
肯定要开个4矿骗你。
Firefly got those early advantages. He felt comfortable and confident to go for the 4th Nexus before adding on his additional gateways, and that's a big advantage when your opponent is trying to play this high charge lot style. It's going to be really tricky for Jim to find an opening or find momentum.
夜蝶对，招了呀，2个点，不急。但是他这个能劲明显是慢了，本来应该是这个时候应该已经在你门口刷了1轮兵，准备打了，2攻1号就打。现在他的这个2攻的 timing 比别人快不了多少，等你什么能劲什么都到位。然后运营也不好，主矿农民多4个，他也没有拉到这个3矿4矿去踩。啊，吉姆4个地堡下去是什么东西啊？
防引到。
Even though he's a little bit ahead, Jim, that is, as far as the upgrades go, it's nothing really to write home about. It's about maybe a 20-second lead or so.
Yeah, and if he can't force a fight, in basically right this instant, that
upgrades,
and it's going to be a big tech lead. There's going to be Archons to deal with the mass charge lot of Jim, whereas mass charge lot of Firefly, I mean, there's no real answer to it. Ooh, Firefly going to get in here, will depower 2 gateways right away, and this is very dangerous for Jim. Meanwhile, there's a cannon on the other side that's going to help defend this. This is going to get actually super chaotic right now.
Yeah, Jim should be stepping forward with his main army.
他是反应不过来吗，还是怎么样？
他不要了。
那怎么不要嘛？你那么多钱，1700块，你为什么不要？
我说1800、1900，回城了，回城没了，这么多场，
正面打不进去啊，这才是最重要的。
我操，2000块钱，
一般你回的能不能再慢一点？我靠！
哎，还好能进去。他有钱，能把这2000块钱用出去。
用出去也打不过吧？人口业点比较高40。
还有白球。
对啊。
Man, I don't know.
Got a million minerals in the bank too, by the way. We really need to make sure that we start spending that here ASAP, because you know Firefly is 100% coming at this point in time. I mean, he should certainly be at least aiming for a bunch of worker kills, if not a Nexus itself, if not honestly the game, right? So there's gateways coming.
应该救不了，这部队太厚了。
Oh, and the force fields, they're just gonna lock it out
放
completely.
过不去，
Yeah,
这4方应该
exactly.
掉了。
Firefly is
强
chilling.
行过去吗？ 强行守，守不了了吧？这一波
怎么守？
这么耿直，
这个你的部队明显打不过啊！你这个差怎么可能打得过白球嘛？那么多白球。
Lose anymore in this particular matchup, unless there's like a half dozen disruptors waiting off to the side. He's probably waiting like, hey, where's all your gas going? How do you not have Archons? How do you not have disruptors?
1比1啊，实力呢，业界还是要比这个吉姆要强一点的。
Yeah, that was very well done from Firefly, and
没错，硬力还是
this is why I
硬
wasn't
实力还是要
particularly
高一
worried
点。
after
那
game
肯定啊，
1 for Firefly at least. Like
中国第2
he
人好
is
吗？
really he's got some very funky builds and he's very aggressive, but he's also a very solid player, and he is certainly capable of maintaining that poise. And right now, I kind of hope
吉姆现在的问题还是那个反应很慢。以前他我记得在退役前那段时间，还在 IG 的时候，退役前段时间就反应慢的一逼。
He's gonna have to do something to find an advantage somewhere. Whether that be
然后只要别人打多线，他就各种被多线搞。
这是他的一个缺点。
Well, you're absolutely right.
就我就觉得当时就是这样子的。
Maybe not necessarily the greatest choice against a very solid macro Protoss. By the way, shout out as well to the guys from the Liquipedia page, because apparently the Liquipedia page of Jim has already been updated. It now says indeed that his team is PCEC.
单线程说的没错，他的反应比赛的慢多了，我靠。
I used to think that websites like Aligalek and, for example, Team Liquid.
他注重的是正面的一个操作，
但是的呀。
I didn't realize that this was a thing that people.
所以他适合打一波呀，打一波就不要想家里面的这个操作了呀，就直接一波就好了呀。
正面打死就可以了。
Watching every single tournament, updating literally everything on the fly, and apparently same can be said for Jim's Liquipedia page right now.
Ah, that's so cool. The Liquipedia folks are tireless. They are just an absolutely.
王哥不知道。王哥，今天不知道会不会回来，我不知道啊。
The consistency.
不确定。
Yeah, like they're so quick. It's a free service.
偶尔总要去应酬一下，是不
shout out to the Liquipedia guys, and there's so many of them. But thank you so much for what y'all do.
So indeed, PCEC is going to be Jim's current team, and well, we'll have to see if Jim can bring it back here. He looked pretty solid in game number 1, catching his opponent off guard with a bunch of Dark Templar. Wanted to just play
他今天是帮他亲戚去搞那个电竞，就电竞馆的事情了。
喂，我回来了
啊，你回来了。
啥情况？
那你今天没有去后面的后半场吗？
啊，后半场我们从来不后半场的，我们就聊事情，聊完就走了呀。还碰到几个2部仔，我靠了。
那聊得怎么样呢？
聊的没有，今天咨询点事情。
From Firefly, let's see, because we have spawning up the top left for PCEC. It is Jim.
猪给了藤子，我不知道呀，就是不知道有没有聊好呀这个事情。
聊什么？电竞馆吗？
啊，
电竞馆那个本身之前就聊了很多，今天主要是咨询点其他的事情。
When I hear the name Jim or say the name Jim specifically to say Jim Rising. I always, my brain just wants to put Rising in there.
你在看什么东西啊？
啊？亚洲区啊，现在吉姆和夜蝶最后一场了呀。
今天谁夺冠了？小黑人还是马入啊？
马入
又夺冠了。那打得精彩吗？
不精彩。决赛一般都是这样的，是不是？也不能说很少吧，就他状态不是特别好。
I guess we are gonna have to go after a lot of people at that point, huh? But...
It's the same guy that made the original Swarm host, isn't it? He's responsible for the English language.
The Firefly, or was it Fire? No,
Fire
was it
Cake.
Mana versus Fire Cake? That's what it is. Yeah, not Firefly. That's the problem.
最后连胜局啊
，1-1了啊
，1-1。
He was a really good player for I think the very beginning of Legacy of the Void. I remember watching the very beginning.
吉姆永远是哨兵，然后追猎啊。这盘夜蝶是稍微做了一些改变，两使图开。对他这两使图，
哨兵追猎万人呐，万人开局。
他现在两使图开有没有？应该是 VS 开局吧？两使图借4使图。
应该不会 VS， 他这个农民在这里面的。他这个农民在这里面的话，会导致你的图要先出来，然后再下 VS 就慢了，来不及。
那是。
除非你这个农民就是说你在那个时间点他走了，你的他不会回头反正他，然后你这个时候可以直接就赌一下，他不回来下 VS， 他就。哦，吉姆是 VS。
吉
姆 VS，
吉姆现在什么实力啊？5700、5800，
对，差不多。
挺有实力的。
他竟然还在练星际，让我倍感意外啊！
哎，这个怎么说呢？就首先没什么事儿，第二呢，星际也算是他那么多年下来的一些技能。那刚好有比赛，对吧？那有比赛情况下嘛，
就参加一
下，那能够赚点奖金，不挺好的吗？
对，400美金可以的。
对啊，也不要辜负那么多年下来的练习啊！我靠，又进来了，他是防不住啊！我靠，这翻江倒海了呀！5个还能再杀一个走。
5个
，6个农民。
Oh man,
that
is so
亏惨了。
I was gonna say it would already be a little bit of a problem because there's double Oracle or double Sentry on the other side.
主要他被 VS 还被侦查到，
now it's so much worse that he didn't even have to hallucinate, and he was able to get that info. Like this is just a disaster for Jim. Down 10 workers already. Shield battery and the natural to support those sentries. Oh, he's not even able to get the probe there. This is such a brutal, yeah. This is such a brutal position.
杀不了东西。
So Firefly is on the back end is going into that blink research. The only problem here, I guess, is that he doesn't have detection. So maybe he's thinking about game number 1, but other than that.
看这一步路线，看有没有机会了。两个先知。
有机会吗？吉姆这个先知操作没见过呀。
单线肯定是没什么问题的，单线的就上。
This is certainly going to be an uphill battle right now for Jim, who's behind as far as that tech goes here, because he will probably want to go. Oh no! Don't lose!
3个这里，没机
会。
没事。
Well, I don't want to be too dramatic and call it game deciding, but it would pretty much be the end of the direction. Anyways, he probably Jim that is wants to get into blink here.
一波吗？这个野水晶。
Decides to go for a third nexus. Firefly is going for a
好了，夜蝶这个换，夜蝶换，我说夜蝶一波啊。
你说夜蝶要一波了？
对啊，夜蝶这个幻炎凤凰还没看到。
慢很多吗？
你是慢很多。
慢吗？你们几分几秒啊
？37、38、39。
我需要慢一点，稍微慢一点点。
Very well done.
We're at about halfway right now on 1 immortal. This third nexus is certainly not going to happen.
No, there's he has to give that up. But
完了，积
behind
木
this, Firefly's
完
already
蛋了
got，his third
没
Nexus
了。
down. Obviously, it's a little bit later, but I don't think Jim
没有追
can
猎，
contest this.
完了。
But at the same thing, I don't think same time, I don't think he can let it go either. We're gonna see a nice immortal keeping that.
这没有闪烁，
or
他这个
nice
没闪
force
烁
field keeping
有
that
个不
immortal
守
at
住，应该
bay.
能守住。
And that's a very aggro blink.
操
But
作
yeah, there's not enough to actually cover the immortal.
好
And with the Guardian Shield,
我靠，这么
he
呛
still
脸！
has enough stalkers with the help of those sentries to
没
win this
用
fight too.
这你不是一直在刷兵的，
Is just gonna
奇
take
迹
this one
了。
down.
积木就靠
Jim
战
had
术
a
赢
tough
了一盘。
decision to either give up the Nexus and fall way
跟叶底
behind,
还是有
further
差
behind
距
in
啊
the game
嗯
because he was already behind, or fight and hope for a mistake.
好了，那我们今天星际的部分就到这儿结束了。走吧，黄哥，带带。
那什么？
躲他，躲他。我把那个关了，等等。
哎呀，
黄哥强啊，黄哥。
我强什么？
妈的，你现在这个9连胜不强？
没有啊，我输了呀，今天我输了。